All right, what's up, guys? Got a question here from Randy Landers. Great lesson. I have most of the triads memorized, but can't seem to connect them in a cohesive and musical way. When trying to improvise, are there any tips on making the movement from one inversion to the next sound smooth? Yes, there are tips. There are things you can do. So great question. And I'm just going to kind of try to address that as much as I can here in this lesson. So one thing you want to do is, so let's just take a G major triad here, for example. And we're just going to look at this root position and then this first inversion, okay? So these two lay right here. And so you said you know your inversions pretty well and your triad. So how would I make this musical? So first of all, I would encourage you to do this. Metronome, super important. First, just get back and forth so that this repetition is what's going to create these smooth transitions. Okay? So you can't just see the shapes and hope to hit the shapes. you gotta put the time in. So now maybe start doing. Now I'm hybrid picking or finger picking, or maybe just I'm just kind of coming up with different ways of playing. Now, maybe strum one, pick the other, come down. So those are a few ideas. Just, rewind and watch me do some of this stuff again. I'm just kind of flowing right now. So another thing you can do, start on the top voice of the root, slide over to the bottom of the next one and go up, and then come back to the top one, great exercise. Then go the opposite direction. Now these are still exercises, obviously. So if you want to make it sound a little more musical, maybe try something like play the G chord on beat 1. So let's see here. Got an email there. 3, 4. And then just play like quarter notes. Maybe you start doing eighth notes. So there you go. That's pretty starting to get musical. It's kind of one of these gradual things. And if you need to, like I said, rewatch some of this, slow some of this down, watch what I'm doing. You could just literally mimic some of these things. I mean, I don't know. One thing I like to do is play the bottom note of this root triad or any triad and then play the top one and then come down. And that's a good exercise. So that's 1, 5, 3, 1. Slide over to the 3, 1, 5. The idea is you want to get out of your head. You want to get really creative because a lot of this stuff is very heady, right? All these patterns. So you got to access that kind of creative side of you and just think, okay, well, yes, it is a little harder to it's actually a lot harder to improvise with just triads, just a little caveat here. So if it's frustrating, it should be. It's hard. Now I can plan on touching on some lessons down the road where we see how these fit in the pentatonic scale, so you're not as limited. So like this is just a little bit of a preview here. So with these two, I could say something like, so I'm using the triads, I'm in the triads, but I'm also adding some notes onto them, okay? But to answer your question, I think you should spend as much time with the triads as you can, and if you can improvise with just the triads as a kind of exercise, it is so important, because when you do start adding other notes, you know where to resolve them. And then also, don't be afraid to play the two notes of the triad. So again, we got this metronome here, 2, 3, maybe I do something like, so now I'm just playing, obviously, so but hopefully as you watch me, I'm just playing the triads, and a lot of it has to do with I am doing hybrid picking, but you don't have to. You could play some, that's a good one there. Start on the 1 here, slide over to the first inversion, go to the high one, back to the middle one. I mean, basically, I think what you're looking for is sliding in between them. You just got to practice. That'd be a great exercise. Let's just look at that real quick. So I've got G, root position, slide over here to the first inversion, the 3, hit the top note, middle voice, slide back down, low, and then high. So that sounds like this. And if I did that in context, added a little bit to it. Okay, so this is just, like I said, I'm just kind of flowing off the top of my head here with some of this ideas, but it really has a lot to do with, you know, I was telling one of my students the other day, I got exercises through, I mean, I could tell you exercises all day and all night. And one thing about professional musicians and some of the best musicians is that they're not necessarily practicing anything super complicated. Like this, what we're just doing right now, this is just triads. This is just literally major triads, some of the simplest, most foundational musical thing. But what I'm doing is I'm taking these shapes and I'm making them musical by just accessing that creative part of me. I'm just not thinking a whole lot. I'm just exploring. What happens if I, instead of playing the whole triad, I just play maybe 2 notes of the triad. And then I say something. And sliding in between these is important. So, yeah, I hope this helps. You know, that would be another good idea. And then also just one other thing, this is kind of more of a exercise, a traditional exercise where you're going to be more just pattern recognition. And I just want to show this to you because this is how I started learning the triads. So this is probably one of the reasons why I can move, but not the only reason. And this is a pretty kind of beefy exercise. This one takes a lot of work, but I would encourage you to try it if you don't already know how to do it. And that is, so I'm going to set my metronome up here, and we'll do an A major chord just so we can get all the triads, at least most of them, out here without the open strings. What you do is you just play, there's 3 triads per string. And you just, or per string set, and you just go through and play them all. And then walk back down. Now this may seem somewhat tedious, but I mean this is where the work's done right here. I put a lot of time into that. I did every single major chord. I would spend hours and hours on that when I was first studying jazz music years and years ago, 10 or 15 years ago. And though that really gets those patterns in there, and then those exercises I was telling you earlier, that's where you kind of start to make it musical. You want to branch out of the robotic exercise and into the playing, you know, and don't overlook the attack of the pick and the finger. Like, you know, that's gonna be, since there's only a few notes, each time you play a note, you know, play with the pick, play with your finger, snap it with your finger. There's a lot of different ways to articulate these notes and get your tone. Really, it's going to help a lot. So anyway, I hope this helps, and I hope you're having fun with that guitar. And you know, you can always hit me up for private lessons too. I teach online, so don't be afraid to do that. I can answer your questions a little more. You know, you can ask me in person. So, and that goes to anybody watching these videos. Hit me up. But otherwise, hope you guys have fun. Peace out.